All right, here we go. Good afternoon, and thank you for joining us. Welcome back. If you've been with the previous sessions, welcome to LEAPxFinance. I'm Laura Heritage, and I'm the co-host for LEAPxFinance. Hope you've been able to catch the earlier sessions. If not, they will be available on demand and you'll want to watch them. They were some really good, insightful information about open finance and AI. So be on the lookout for them. For this session, if you have any questions, please use the Q&A section on the bottom of your screen. Sometimes it gets hidden behind the More area, or just use the chat button directly. All right. I am so excited for this session. I am completely impressed by Randolph-Brooks Federal Credit Union and what they have built. And they built this API first platform and are embracing financial data exchange to, really put their members in control of their data. They are a mighty credit union with forward thinking, and they are really setting themselves up for financial success now and well into the future. So I'm very pleased to introduce Vaishali Dalvi, who is the Vice President of IT Web Development, and also Ross Bender, Senior Solution Architect for IT Web Development. Thank you so much for joining me. All right.
Thank you, Laura.
So let me begin. This is going to be like a fireside chat. Again, people watching, feel free to ask questions. Vaishali, during our previous discussions, you shared that RFBCU, which I'll use that for now, are committed to members, that RBFCU's commitments to members is to really go beyond. Can you tell us about RFBU's go beyond banking philosophy and how technology enables that vision?
Definitely, Laura. So go beyond banking for me is, we don't just cater to our members' financial needs like their regular banking, but we go beyond that, meaning we have a deep community engagement. Randolph-Brooks Credit Union has lots of programs for our members, and how technology enables is that we put all of these programs 24/7 in front of our members at their fingertips when they need them the most. So that to me is we are going beyond the banking needs of our members and engaging with their life, the community.
Very good. Thank you. And Ross, can you share with us, when did you first start your API journey? And most importantly, why did you choose to start the API first journey?
Sure. So I'd say even going back 10 years or so, we had systems that talked to one another or connected with one another. And as we grew our team and maybe grew our number of integrations and the applications we had, we saw a need for data sharing both internally in our applications and externally. And thankfully, we had some vision and counsel at that point to approach APIs as the platform preferred mechanism of data sharing. And thankfully, that's continued to pay dividends even now for things like the financial data exchange specification, for things like agentic and AI worlds where APIs are really the bedrock of how systems communicate. So I'd say 2018, 2019 is when we really formalized a clear API first approach and really made that the means by which we deliver our data and consume our data even internally.
And so now when a business comes and says, I need this data, what do you respond?
It's the best if we have an API that can already solve that need. And we can just say, hey, we've already built that and expose it. And as we talk more about FDX, we'll also see that if you're approaching that now, FDX doesn't have to be this huge journey if you're already looking and have APIs. So we had APIs kind of in the realm of what FDX requires or standardizes. But obviously there was a little bit of work. We had an accounts type API that we had to bring in alignment with the overall FDX spec. So in general, it's a good feeling when we have something that exists and are able to utilize it. And it really goes to the vision of why take APIs as a preferred platform. And it's to reduce work and integration later on, building one so that you can utilize and share in the future.
Perfect. And so to embark on this, right? Because we had Tab Bank earlier and they got this question as well because they started down an API first. How did you get the business to buy in? And how big was your team then and now?
Yeah. I'll answer first, and Vaishali, you can chime in too with business buy-in for APIs. They probably there maybe wasn't as much communication of like, oh, I understand what an API is, but it's gotten to the point now where everyone in our organization, technical or not, knows the term API. And so I think it's that culture of APIs drive success, drive connectivity. Our organization, maybe like a lot of other FIs, integrate with a lot of different partners, and there's always integrations like, do they support APIs? Can we use them? How can it be customized? So I think it started with showing value in reusability and less work if the problem's already been solved, and then propagates out with customization or extensibility as well.
Yeah. So how long did it take you to get that first API running? And how many APIs are you managing today? Both the ones that you develop yourself, but you said you use a lot of third parties and the third parties that you consume.
Yeah. So I'd say we had an API stack prior to our standardization of, REST-based APIs for connectivity, but they were more internal. Now we have, top level API products, 10 to 15 products, each of those having endpoints of anywhere from dozens to hundreds. And we're naturally managing those with Tyke for simplicity, but the portfolio has grown as our team has grown. And over the last 10 years or so, our team grew from, a dozen or a couple dozen to we now have maybe 120 to 130 on our development team, which includes front end stack, back end stack, and QA and a digital experience and user experience team as well.
So kind of go back again, what are some of the immediate technical and business benefits you've seen since going to this API first approach?
Reusability for one, for sure. Deliverability, speed to deliver. We take a pretty strong approach now of like trying to decouple our applications, even if we're the only consumers of those APIs. We really try and separate the applications that use APIs from the APIs themselves. And so trying to think in terms of forward and backwards compatibility. And these are maybe more technical terms, but to a business or even to a thought leader or leadership in IT, what they hear and understand is less time for delivery or less time for updates. Decoupling, meaning updates and maintenance is less. And integrations are possible, can be quicker or even minimized when efforts like FDX come along. We had a good starting foundation and framework for them. So it lowers the cost overall with being able to deliver solutions.
So when you look back, are you able to say, we're X times faster? Can you give some sort of factor? I know you can't, it's hard to say that, but is there, like, could you try to quantify it a little bit?
Um, I I can't quantify the speed improvements other than when we compare against what it took in terms of like a monolithic app approach that we had previously. And we still have some legacy monolithic type services that were really low used and we're migrating or deprecating, and we see heavy churn and heavy cost to maintain those. and there's a real impact in not being able to deliver other business features or value by needing to spend a lot of time just on keeping the lights on for those monolithic type things. So yeah, we see the value really in the less work it takes. I don't know, Vaishali, any input?
Yeah,
Yeah.
sure. I can add to that. So what Ross is saying exactly, Laura, so if, as he mentioned, we had 8 members in our team, and now we have grown to 130 members. So to quantify that, we did do a lot of parallel development. We used to have releases like once in a month or once in 2 months. We have releases now, multiple releases every day. So that's kind of the quantification and the parallel development that's possible just because we have decoupled, our APIs with that monolithic application that we had a few years ago. We've decoupled that. We are able to release even in a decoupled way where we release our APIs first, and then whatever the front end we have to release, we do that later on. So it gives us a lot of control and control over the features that we want released, or we can even like pull them back if need to.
Okay, very good. So let's go back and talk about that going beyond for your members. And I the previous session I spoke with Jean-Paul Leclerc from FDX, and I talked a little bit about screen scraping. But it's one thing to hear the challenges and the pain points from me from screen scraping, than you yourselves. What were some of the things from your members that you were hearing about screen scraping, or that you were worried about, that made you addressing screen scraping a priority?
Sure. So the biggest pain point that we had was when our members changed their passwords, or if they had multiple logins on their accounts, they just thought that there was fraud on their account, because if they changed their passwords, their service was getting disrupted with the third party that they had signed up. And of course, the credit union always takes these member calls, and the members always expected that the credit union solve their problems. So when they came to us, it was a struggle. It was member friction, where we had to explain to them even that this was a third party service that you've opted into, but we wanted to help them. So that was the biggest friction point for us with screen scraping as far as our members are concerned.
Did you have to really frame this for your executives to make them understand, and how did you do that?
Yes. So from a business perspective too, the biggest factors that I put forward for the executive team was, the uh, no visibility to who is sharing, who is accessing our member data, security of our member data, and the third thing was the operational costs and the risks that we were having with this. So no visibility. Our members did not know who was accessing their data because they had kind of had that third party relationship a few years ago. Some of them didn't even have a recollection of having that third party connection. So that was adding to member friction. So this initiative would definitely give us complete visibility to who was accessing the data, complete control to our members. We are giving our members control that they can pick and choose the connections they want moving forward. So that was the biggest buy-in selling point for me to explain to the executives. So this would not only give our members control over that data, but also improve data security and reduce costs for the credit union.
So going to you, Ross, what made you decide to use FDX as the right standard to solve this problem?
Yeah, kind of echoing on what Vaishali said, there's the member impact for screen scraping and the approach of how it was done, and the real organizational impact as well. So not only do we want better for our members, there's limitations with us being able to have better trust with who can access data, having even a legal sort of agreement with data partners and what they can do with their data, visibility into what services people are using. Screen scraping comes in and looks just like a normal user often. It's hard to identify that that's maybe a third party. So looking at what ways to solve this, FDX emerged as not only a clear standard in the space. There's regulatory type efforts that have been made, which I'm sure we'll dive into here as well. We saw FDX as a standard for how data is shared and really gives visibility to the organization with the user, or in our case, member, being the real owner of and controller of their data. So at the end of the day, it puts data in the hands of the user and allows them to say yes or no, or what data is shared as well.
Very good. When you started your FDX implementation well before it became a regulatory mandate for a financial institution your size, and I think that is very forward thinking. I know a lot of other financial institutions similar size that says, I'm just going to wait. What what made you, I know you talked about the challenges with your members, the what screen scraping was doing, but what made you decide now is the time to invest in FDX, and how did you prioritize this against other competing initiatives?
So yeah, definitely. Like I had explained earlier, that we had this member friction going on when we made changes. A few years ago, we did conversion. We converted our mobile app from scratch. We did a redesign of our mobile app and our online banking website. And during that time, we did see that we had broken a lot of screen scraping flows and had to spend a lot of time with larger aggregators because our members service was disrupted, and we had to spend a lot of time with the aggregators to work with them and have them change their screen scraping flows. So that was the biggest factor. Another thing, like on the question as to why now, was we also had another initiative where we were improving our authentication flows, and with that we really had to bypass some of the aggregators, because when members logged in, like Ross said, when aggregators log in, you can't tell a difference. It's just as if a member is logging in, only it's at odd hours. So due to that authentication improvement that we had done, it would disrupt our members when the aggregators would log in at these odd hours. And that really was a breaking point for us. Like, we wanted to get this screen scraping out. We wanted a standardized way of sharing data and removing all of these friction points that we had.
Very good. So you've already kind of stated this, but would you state that having an API first approach helped you with your FDX implementation? And how long did it take you to get to your MVP of the FDX implementation? And how many team members did you actually have working on it?
Absolutely. So on your question, repeat your question, Laura, one more time. Sorry.
So would you say your API first, would you say your API first approach helped with your FDX implementation? And how long did it take for you to get to your MVP? And how many people
Okay,
did it?
got it. So yes, definitely, most definitely. As we had started, our API first approach years before, we started small. We are only exposing right now. Also, we are only going to expose a few most important APIs, like our account summary or the transactions that members access, aggregators access. We only are exposing those. So we have started really, really small. But since we already had those APIs, we had to make a couple of changes. Not that we didn't, it was out of the box, but we had to make changes. But it was really, really effective because we didn't spend much time, and Ross can speak more on that. But we didn't spend much time changing what was needed for the FTX specification from what we already had.
So where are you in the process right now? I know you've finished your MVP, but where are you now with it? And what are you most excited about when you actually turn the switch?
Yeah, I'll take that. So our development has mostly completed. The development effort mostly was around the authentication component of how FTX operates, and then combined with the screens in our online banking platform to give users the ability to enroll or give consent, and then to deactivate or disable connections as well. So that's mostly where our development effort was spent the most time. We have completed development, but haven't been able to release yet. And the largest other non-technical part of the effort is really in us organizationally understanding how to manage relationships with third parties, aggregators or otherwise, because it's kind of a new to us anyway, new type of relationship where it's not a first party or second party agreement. They're not maybe a third party, but it's almost a fourth party type agreement where they're not even owning data, but aggregators are acting as intermediaries for third party applications. So that's where we are now. We're at the tail end of integrating and kind of entering a legal, I guess, or agreement, data access and sharing agreement with a few key aggregators, and those will be foundational for then migrating the apps that they have users subscribed already. They'll re-enroll those users and switch them to the open banking consent and the FDX standards.
Yeah. For both of you, when you are able to get over the hurdles of both the legal and risk and compliance and stuff and flip the switch, what do you see? What benefit are you most interested in seeing from having this live for your members, for the fintechs? What are you most excited to see and
Sure.
track?
Sure. So I'm most excited about our members having control over that and them being relaxed that their data is protected by the credit union, right? And the other important thing for me is with open banking, we'll have a treasure trove of APIs from other fintechs, other FIs that we will be able to utilize. We will be able to give them more features and services than we have today to our members. So that's most exciting to me.
And for me, I'm looking forward to, as a user of RBFCU services, I'm looking forward to being able to use that data in other third-party apps without needing to give my username and password to those apps. So we don't want our people doing that. I don't like doing that myself. And I won't need to with FDX. I can share that data securely. On the organizational side, I'm really excited about the type of data and usage we'll see with third-party app services that will strategically allow us to understand how people are using their products and services and really drive innovation in spaces that are important to people. So if they're really focusing on, you know, PFM or analyzing your usage or spending, we spend effort on that to give more value to the members. If conversely they're looking more in the payments and moving money space, we would drive adoption there. So I think organizationally we get better insights into what users are doing and what's important to them to allow us to react as well.
Another one for you, Vishali, is are you, besides the stuff that you need to do from a technical and legal perspective, are you also putting out education? Are you going to put education out to your members on how to use this and what's available?
So certainly when we do release every feature, we have member communication going on from the business side. So certainly, yes, Laura, we would be doing that as far as possible, staying, not getting too wrapped up in the technical terms, but
Yeah,
in layman's terms, explaining to our members how it benefits them and how they are in control now.
very good. All right, and this is to you, Ross. What would you say, underneath your API strategy, you are leveraging, I believe, the Tyke platform. What would you say is the most valuable aspect of it, and how it helped you on your journey?
Yeah, I think it helps to have an API mindset first. The more that you see APIs as the technical solution to solve business problems, the more you'll see something like FDX as an opportunity to extend that beyond your own applications or maybe your own systems, but do it in a way that's secure and available. A product like Tyke or an API gateway and maybe an API strategy in general allows us to take an effort like FDX, understand. I mean, Vaishali mentioned we started with just the critical important endpoints. That was, practically speaking, that's 5 to 6 APIs. We were able to take a team with one, maybe 1.5 API developers to spend, a couple months to bring our APIs into alignment, a front-end development team and a design team to understand how that acts in our applications. So really focusing on what 80–90% of the use cases are with a couple months of concerted effort allowed us to get where we were. And that's because of seeing APIs as the strategy for delivering solutions. So it allows us to focus really on the core business products and services there without getting wrapped up in management or long-term cost too. And one thing I'll maybe also say, I think understanding APIs as the solution going forward, taking an approach or an investment strategic decision in FDX or open banking offloads what our future development effort will look like as well. So we're also internally looking at how we can, from creation, take new APIs, and instead of trying to reinvent the wheel or trying to do things only specific to our organization, how can we bring API development into alignment with FDX from the beginning? There's a problem that's been solved in the in the industry. Let's utilize that for our benefit and really speed up development as well.
We've talked previously outside of this, and you've previously mentioned that as an organization, you don't just benchmark yourselves against financial institutions the same size as you, but you actually look towards the larger financial institutions to do so. How does having an API platform, as you do, and the FDX capabilities help really position you competitively amongst this wide range of competitors?
I can take that up first anyway. Yeah, I think understanding first the what the member or users want. And so we're fortunate to work in an organization that we can focus on really what's important to the user. And so we're able to look at other organizations, larger or smaller, that have more established teams or are maybe more agile in what they're delivering, and respond based on where we see the market and demand go. And so certainly with FDX and API connectivity, we see the user wanting options and the user going to tools that best work in their workflow. We strive to deliver a first-class mobile app experience for our users, but we also understand that there's other product services and third-party apps that do things in a different way and in a better way in a lot of times. So informing our strategy based on what users are going to and what users want is important.
You guys are so forward thinking and so advanced for your size. And now that you have your API platform it's mature, and I would say, based on what I've looked at from other financial institutions, and you have your FDX nearly live, I'm curious what you guys are thinking of is the future. Like, what are you doing next? Right? What's next?
So I guess for us, with open banking, like we said, we want to leverage what's out there. We don't want to reinvent wheels on many of the features that our members are waiting. Time to market is extremely important to us. And with the competition to, staying competitive in the market, it's very important that we release features faster and with the changing landscape. So I think open banking is going to give us that it's going to give us that leverage. We can take up the APIs that other fintechs, other FIs are utilizing, have that data that they have, and we can use the APIs that we already have, build some configurations around that, and then utilize them as fast as we can.
Very good. We're running out of time here. We have one more minute. And this is a question that you're probably going to get pinged on LinkedIn about a lot. What would you tell other credit union executives or other financial institutions who are still planning their approach to either starting down the API first approach or even starting the FDX journey? What would your advice be? What would you tell those executives?
Yeah. I'll go first. Vaishali has thoughts too, I'm sure. I'd say really have it be driven as a value add to the user. So starting first, not because of a regulatory coming regulation is going to go up and down. It has in the US. So seeing it first as a member value add service, a user value add service, have that drive the reason for it, and coupled with the organizational benefits as well. Like you as an organization will have better security, better visibility, better management of what services you have. And really for FDX to for starting out, I would say look at you can do a lot by focusing on a little. So focus on a few key services, a few APIs, again, handful, less than 10, you're able to start and really put just a couple people on a resource on a project can make a lot of headway in a short amount of time.
Definitely, Ross. So yeah, I would also say the same thing, like start small. Definitely start small and hone in on the most viable product for this. Instead of going with a big bang with a lot of APIs, release iteratively, release in stages. And we've been really very blessed to have a very, very strong development team. But for the credit unions or other FIs that don't have that, I would advise that there are other third-party applications or third-party services too that can help with this, but go small and you'll get there.
Well, thank you both so much for coming and sharing your journey. I greatly appreciate it. I love hearing and learning from both of you. I know I will be contacting you continuously because you have an amazing API first platform and an amazing implementation of FDX. And I wish you guys all the luck and success in the future. And can't wait to see what you guys do next. So
Thank you, Laura.
Thanks.
thank you very much. Bye-bye.